Hey guys, today we'll try to understand another concept of Python, that is variables. This is very important concept. And when we are talking about Python variables, these are reserved memory locations, yeah, used to store values within a Python program. Or this means that when you create a variable, you reserve some space in the memory, yeah, for that particular code. Now, based on the data type of a variable, Python interpreter allocates memory and decides what can be stored in the reserved memory. Therefore, by assigning different data types to Python variables, you can store integers, decimals, or characters in these variables. Yeah. Now, when I'm talking about, let me just show you something. So we are talking about variables. Yeah. As I said, these are reserved memory locations where the values are stored. Yeah. Now, when I'm talking about memory address, now these are data items belonging to different data types are stored in computer's memory. Now, computer memory locations could be like I'm talking about computer memory locations. Uh, it could be the having a number or address, or probably it could be internally represented by a binary form. Yeah. Now, data is also sorted in binary form as the computer works on the principle of binary representation. Let's not get into the complicated things of binary. Now, what we need to understand how Python stores a particular variable or any kind of variable or data uh, is by just trying to find the ID. So Python have built-in ID which returns the variable location in memory. Yes. Now, how do you find that? So if I try to create a variable, suppose I have a variable called ice can analyze. Yeah. So I have created this variable which is available somewhere uh, in Python memory. Now, and one more code. What I'll say is, let me first get the output of the above command. Yes. So it is stored down. So how do I get the location? Now, what I can do is I can say ID, ice can analyze, yeah, where it has been stored, and press enter. Now this will give me a specific address which is specific to this variable. Now this is how the data is stored in Python. Now once the data is stored in the memory, it should be accessed repeatedly for performing a certain process. Obviously, now fetching the data from its ID is cumbersome. Yeah, it's very high level. Like, and to make it possible to give a suitable alias or a label to refer to the memory location, we assign it, yeah, through an assignment operator. Yeah. So we have, as I said, is assignment operator Yeah, so that we can store the variable. Yes, so it could be, it is in the form of is equal to. Yes, so let's add some code. I'll add some more lines so that we have ready-made lines here. So what I can do is, in Python, I can refer a particular name by giving it an alias. So I say name is equal to eyes can analyze. Yeah, and I'll press enter. Yeah, or I can have my number equals to 100. I do not need, for a numerical, I do not need double quotes. And I can run it. Yeah. So there is a green tick, so it has got run. Now, if I try to get the ID of name, yes, it will give me the same ID which was earlier given here when I singularly printed. So it is referring this alias or the operator which has stored this value in some of the variable has automatically assigned me the same ID which I have created for iScan analyze. Yeah. So it is therefore referring iScan analyze through the variable name. Yeah. Same way I can say ID of number, which could be a different ID altogether. Yeah. So you can see that this is a different ID and this is a different ID. Yeah. So the label is an identifier itself. It is usually called as variable. So this is what I said are variables. So name is a variable, number is a variable, and we store the data in those variables. Yeah. So a Python variable is a symbolic name that is a reference or a pointer to an object. Okay. Now let's understand how do we create Python variables. So we'll try to uh, create Python variables. Yeah. Now, Python variables do not need explicit declaration, to reserve memory space, or you can say to create a variable. A Python variable is created automatically when you assign a value to it. Okay. So the equal to, as I said earlier, is an operator which you can use to assign a value. Now, let's see some example. Now, let us add some code. Yeah. So I'll say counter is equal to 100. Yeah, this is a comment. So this creates an integer variable. We'll speak about the data types in next session, but right now just understand what is happening. Yeah. Suppose I have miles, which I am saying 1000.0. Now this creates a floating point variable. Wherever you have decimals like zero point 0 or 0.50. So these are floating point variables. Another, as we have seen earlier, I can analyze, which is name, yeah, which is a string variable. So you can create, I'll just align this. So that looks good. So this creates a string variable. Yes, sounds good. So when there is a whole number, it will create an integer variable. where there is a point 0, which is a decimal, which is a floating variable, and the last one is a name variable. Yeah. So this is how you create variables. Now you will ask me whether we have created the variables, but how do we print them? How do we access them? Yeah. So printing Python variables. So how do I do that? So I'll say print, yes. We can use print function, which will be helpful for us to print those variables. Now we have created the variable earlier. So if I want to see counter, which we have created earlier, yeah, yes, it is showing me the variable content. If I ask for print miles, it will show me the floating variable. If I say print, what was the name? Okay, name. It will give me the string variable. Yeah. Now here, 100 or 1000.0 and IceCanalers are the values assigned to the counter, miles, or name variables respectively. When running the above Python program, this produces the following results that we have seen right now. Yeah. Now we have created. How do I delete those variables? Yes. We may also require to delete the variables. So deleting the Python variables. Yes. This is the common formatting that we have. Yeah. So the function for deleting a particular variable is del. Let me write it. Del, and I'll write the variable name. So let me use any of the variable, this counter. I'll delete this variable which you have created earlier. Now you can delete the reference to a number object by using the del statement. Yeah, you can delete a single object or multiple objects by using the del statement. Yes. So how do we do that? Suppose I want to delete the counter variable which you have already created. Let's just print it once again. So I print counter, so it gives me the content of the counter. Now I try to delete it. So I'll say del and I'll say counter. Yeah, and I'll run this. Yes, it has deleted. Now if I try to print the counter, it will give me an error, because I've deleted the variable. There is no way Python would be able to find that variables by for the printing purpose. Yes. Now, as I said earlier, let me get this counter variable again. As I said earlier, now what are these variables that we have printed earlier? One was integer, one was other was float, third one was string. But how do you come to know what kind of data type it is? So suppose again I create getting the type of variables. So I just add this, getting the type of variable. Okay. Now, if I try to get those variables again, suppose I do not know what these variables are. Yeah, I'll just create them once again. Now what I can do is, if I want to find what this variable are, what is the type of this variable. So what I can do is, I can use the function that is called type. Yeah. Now type what does is uh, it gets the data type of a particular variable. This is a built-in function. So suppose I want to get the print type of counter. Yeah. Let's get all three of them. No, let's get one by one. Yeah. So counter, you can see it is an integer, int, class int. Let's find what is miles. Yes, it is a float, as we spoke earlier. Lastly, name, it is a string, str. So this is how you find out what is the type of a particular variable. Yeah. Now, what you can do it with variable, you can cast variables as well. Yeah. Uh, Casting of variable is like, uh, I'll show you by example. Casting Python variables. Yeah. So suppose I have x equals to now casting. First, I need to tell you why we use casting. Because casting is specifically used to tell a person is or a particular variable is a string, int or float. That is, you specify the type of the variable. So suppose x, I said 10, it will by default take it as integer. But if I specify it as string, then it will be considered as a string variable. So 10 will not be considered as, so if I say type x, we'll see the type of x which has stored the variable 10, it is string variable. Yeah. So I can say y equals to int 10. Yeah. And I'll say print y. Yeah. So it is, I'll also print the type. Yeah. It is giving me the output and the type as well. Let me again make it as float. I'll make this as float. So it will automatically add a decimal to 10. Since I have casted it as float, I have not told it to be an integer. So 10, it has automatically added a decimal and made it a float because I have casted it as float. I specifically told that this would be a float variable. Yeah. So till now, we understood how we can create variable. Yeah. Yeah. How the variables are stored, how you can print variables, how you can delete variables. Yeah. How you can have get a type of variable that you have, how you can cast a variable. But the important thing that you need to understand is Python variables are case sensitive. Yeah. Or Python variables. Yes. Now, what do you mean by being case sensitive? Now, if I say age equals to 20 and I say age equals to 30. Now, both these variables are different because Python is case sensitive. This age is treated as differently because the a is smaller, and here the in second variable the a is in capital letters. Yes. So if I try to print age, it will give me 20. Okay, I have not run this, so let me run the variables first. Okay, now it will print. Yes, so it is 20. And if I try to print age, it will give me 30. So Python treats each and every alphabet separately, and hence you get different output for any case sensitive information that you put. Yeah. You can also assign, we just saw how we assigned a value to a single variable. Now Python also helps in multi-assigning. Yes. So when I'm saying multi-assigning, say multiple assignment of Python variables. Yes. So when I'm saying multi-assignment is usually what we do is A is equal to 10, B is equal to 10, C equals to 10. So I am assigning same value to all A, B, and C. Yes. And if I try to print it, I'll say print A, comma, B, comma, C. Yeah. 10, 10, 10. Yes. Now I do not need to write this code separately. What I can do is instead of having separate assignments, I can do it in one statement. What I can do is I can say A equals to B equals to C equals to 10 because it's the same value that is getting assigned to it. Yes. And I'll try to print again the same thing. Print A comma B comma C. Let's see if it gives me the same output. Yes. Now you'll ask me whether if we have different values for each variable, then what do we do? Yeah, it can happen. There is always a possibility of having different assignments for different variables. Then how do we have multiple assignments in that case? Yeah. So in that case, what you can do is in a normal scenario, what you can do is you can assign A 10, B 20, C 30. So automatically it gets assigned. But if you want to assign it in just one statement, what I can do is I can say A comma B comma C equals to 10 comma 20 comma 30. Yeah. And I'll use the same print statement. Let's see if it's again getting assigned as 10, 20, and 30. Here you are. Yes. So this is how you can have multi-selection, multi-assignments of variables. Yes. And if you're even assigning this in single line, you can print them separately. It's not necessary that I have to print it in one go. So I can print it like this. I can have print A, print B, or I can do print C. Yeah. So again, it will give me the output as what I have. Now, here are interior objects is created with the value that we have seen above. Yeah. Now, suppose there are three variables and one of the value is a string variable. So how do we do that? So suppose I have the same code. Yeah. I have the same code. I'll change one of the values to a string variable. Yeah. So I'll copy this. I'll paste it here. And 30, I'll replace it by eyes can analyze. Yeah. Let us see what the output is. Can see this? So here you have two integers assigned to variables a and b respectively, and one string object, which is I can analyze, which is assigned to C automatically, as in the provided format, or in the provided hierarchical form that has been specified. Yeah. Now, when we are talking about Python variables, there are certain naming conventions which you need to understand. Yeah. Now, a variable name must start with a letter or a underscore character. You need to always remember this. Yeah. A variable cannot start with a number or any kind of special character. Yes. A variable can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore. Yeah. Uh, Python variable is case sensitive, which we have seen right now, wherein a particular name in small letters would mean something else and capital letters will mean something else. Python reserved words cannot be used. We have seen the reserved words in a previous basic syntax video. Yeah. Now, if the name variable contains multiple words, we should use these naming patterns. Yeah. Suppose you are uh, like camel case. Yeah. Wherein the first letter is lowercase, but first letter of each subsequent word is in uppercase. For an example, what I have written right now. Yeah. So camel case could be specified as eyes can analyze. Yeah. This is camel case. Yes. The other thing could be Pascal case, where first letter of the word, each word is in uppercase. For example, price per liter. Yeah. So this is Pascal case. This is not camel case. I'm very sorry for this. Pascal case, yeah, where each letter of the word starting is in upper letter. So eyes, E is in capital, can, C is in capital, analyze, A is in capital. Yeah. In camel case, what happens is the initial letter, the first letter is a lowercase. Yeah. But first letter of each subsequent word is in uppercase. So this would be a camel case. So I have to keep E, which is for eyes, has to be smaller. So this is called camel case. Yeah. So this is how you can name a particular variable. There could be a snake case. Use single underscore character to separate the words. So I can have eyes can analyze as. So if I put eyes can analyze, I will have underscore between each word. This is called snake case. Yeah. So there are various naming conventions you can use to show a particular word. Yeah. Show a particular variable. So there are various ways I can say I can say, as we had counter is equal to 100. Yeah. I can also write this way. I can start with an underscore and say count equals to 100. Yeah. This is also valid. This is also a valid variable format. I can have name 1 equals to eyes. Can have name 2 equals to can. I can have name 3 equals to analyze. Yeah. I can have age equals to 20. Yeah. Or I can have my salary equals to 1 lakh. Yeah. And I can print all of them. I can have print counter. Yeah. I can have, I'll just count underscore count, which was a variable. I can have name 1. Yes. I can print name 2 and print name 3. I can print age. I can print my salary. Yeah, I can print all of them. Yes. So let's print this. Let's see what happens. Let's print all these variables. I'll run this command. Yeah. So this is how you can have valid name formats. Sorry. This is how you can have valid name formats. Yeah. But due to the naming convention, you cannot have variable name as starting with a number. 1 counter is equal to 100. Now, if I try to print this, print 1 counter, it will give me an error. Yeah, because this is not a invalid decimal literal because it has started with 1. So it is taking it to be considering it as decimal. Yeah, you cannot start with a special character. So say dollar underscore count equal to 100. And if I try to print dollar underscore count, it will again supposed to give me an error. Yeah. See this invalid syntax. Yeah. Or you cannot have my salary, my minus salary instead of underscore. Yeah. And I try to print my minus salary. Yeah. We cannot have this. Yes, this is an error. Cannot assign an expression. So these are all types of errors which you need to take care of while you're creating variables. Yeah. Another thing that you need to remember is once you use a variable to identify a particular object, yeah, it can be used repeatedly without its ID value. Here we have a variable. Suppose I have a variable. Yeah. Suppose I have a formula which gives me height and weight. Okay. Suppose I have width which has the value as 10. Yeah. And height. Yeah. Which has the value as 20. Now I can use this two variables for various purposes. I can print the area that is equal to width into height. Yeah, I'll say print area. Yeah, sounds great. 200. Now, I do not need to create these variables again. I can straight away use it for something else. I say perimeter. Yeah, perimeter is equal to, if I remember the formula, that is 2 into width plus height. Yeah, here you'll see I do not need to define the variables again. Meter. Yeah. I'll run this formula and it has automatically calculated it. Yeah, I do not need to define width and height again. Yeah, so when it is assigned, you can use it for various purposes. Yeah. Now, use of variables is specifically advantageous when writing scripts or program. Yeah. Now that there is a very important. So let's start to understand the very important concept of variables, which we'll be using in functions on classes as well. That is Python local variables. Now, what is Python local variables? These are local variables are defined inside a function. Just for information, function is a piece of reusable code. Yeah, which we'll see in a later videos. So these are defined inside a function. We cannot access this variable outside the function. So let's try and understand to write a function first. So suppose how a function is defined by the reserved called def. I have this function for sum, that's def sum x comma y, where this function will help me to add two variables. Yes, x plus y. And it will return me the sum of these two variables. Yeah. Now, if I try to run this function, I'll say sum 5 comma 10, it will provide me the value as 15. Yeah. So this function is reusable. Again, if I try to print some other variable with the same function, sum of 20 comma 30. Yes. So it will give me 50. Yeah. Because I have passed on these variables to this function, which is x and y inside this variable. Now, if I try to print x here, let's try to print x. It will not give me anything. Okay, it is giving me 10 because somewhere in my previous program I may have defined x. So let me see this if I have defined x anywhere else. Yes, you can see this. I have defined x here, which had the value as 10. So let me take some other variable. I take the variable as triple x. Okay. I mentioned the variable as triple x here. I mentioned a variable as triple y here. Yeah. And I add this triple x, add this triple y. Yeah. Now, if I try to run this function, yeah, it will run the same way because the variables are same, the function is same. But if I try to access the variable triple x, it will not give me anything because it is a local variable. Yeah, that's what we talked about. So the local variables are defined inside the function. So this was the function and triple x is local to this function. You cannot access it outside the function. Yeah. So you need to remember this while using function. Another type of variable is global variable. So you have Python, sorry, Python global variables. which can be accessed from anywhere. Now, any variable created outside a function can be accessed within a function, and so they have global scope. Yeah, you need to remember this. So this particular function, let me explain you with a function with an example. So suppose I have this variable called I'll put a x, y, z, yeah, is equal to 5. Yeah, and a, b, c equals to 10. Yeah? Now if I try to say def sum I'll not specify anything, and I'll say sum is equal to x plus y, and I'll say return sum. Yes, return sum. Now I'll try to print sum here. It will automatically give me the value as 10. Let me see, something went wrong in x. Okay, I have not added the variable properly. A, B, C. Okay. Now it will give me the right thing. So these are global variables. So I can access it. The function can access it even though it is outside the function. Yeah. So you remember the block of code that we talk about for this, the function is, this is the block of code. So anything outside the block, yeah, it becomes a global function, global variable. Yeah. So you need to remember this concept. The last thing that I want your people to know is constants in Python. Yeah. Now, what is constants in Python? So, to be true, Python doesn't have any formally defined constants, but you can indicate everything in caps. Yeah. By using all caps, names with underscore, you can define, like you can say them, you can indicate them to be a variable which should be treated as constants. For example, I can have eyes underscore can underscore analyze. Yeah. This indicates that you don't want this variable redefined or change in any way. Yeah. So these are you can say programming conventions that needs to be followed. Yeah. Yeah. The naming convention using all caps is sometimes referred as a screaming snake case. Yeah. When all caps and the underscores, yeah, indicate that it is screaming. So the all caps indicates it is screaming. You do not have to touch this variable. So, and this is how the constant can be provided in Python. There's nothing that I cannot change it, but yes, definitely it is providing you a caution that this is created in capital letters, so this should not be touched. I guess this is a good way to learn Python variables, and probably I have covered most of the variable definitions, how it are allocated in memory, how you can allocate, create variables, you can delete variable or cast variable, the naming conventions, yeah, which will help you in your writing a good program. Yeah, thank you so much.